good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, you're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I happen to save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake. Now, the mission at Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. So if you ever find yourself in a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show because we're on a mission. You can also find the show on the main. I hope you can hear me now. William Platinum, can you hear me now? Okay, all right. Thank you, Alonzo. Thank you. All right. Like some of the streams that were coming through on the simulcast were not coming through. Thank you again for tuning in on the Marketing Pulpit. We got a great show lining up. We're going to be talking about some of the things that are happening in the news. For one thing, this is 4th of July weekend that's coming up. Matter of fact, it's coming up on Tuesday. And for everybody who doesn't know what that is, the legal separation of the 13 colonies took place on July 2nd, 1776, when the Second Continental Congress voted to approve the Resolution of Independence, and it was ratified on July 4th. Now, here's a little tidbit, a little trivia. Coincidentally, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the only signers of the Declaration who later served as president, both died on the same day, July 4th, 1826. Another founding father who became president, James Monroe, died on July 4th, 1831. The third president to die on the holiday. Is that saying God don't like ugly? Because they didn't free the slaves in the Declaration of Independence. Now, of course, Frederick Douglass, in one of his famous speeches about what it is to be a slave on the 4th of July, he said, "I am not included within the pale of glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. So this holiday is not universally accepted and celebrated. We just had Juneteenth back in on the 19th of June. So a lot of people of color celebrate Juneteenth over July 4th. But I would say this: celebrate your independence anytime you feel like it. If you want to celebrate it this coming week, do so. If you want to throw a hot dog on the grill, do so. That is the value of being free. And another thing to talk about, because in line with this, I think it's just too coincidental that on the eve of Independence Day, we have this banning or reversing affirmative action. If there's no other reason to point out the hypocrisy and the paradox, then this ruling, it highlights it. Are we ever free? Are we ever going to get justice? Okay, so we got this holiday coming up, talk about freedom and justice and liberation. At the same time, the affirmative action, the Supreme Court is trying to turn back the hands of time. And for the people who said we want this colorblind society, I wish that was so true. That's idealistic, it's utopian. We don't have a colorblind society. So until you have a colorblind society, you need measures in place to get us to a more perfect union. We're not there yet. We're not even close. Every time you open the paper, you're reading about instances where there's disparity between different demographics. So I am not in favor of this ruling. I think it was wrong. I think at some point in the future, we won't need affirmative action. But I will tell you right now, I got my first job as a buyer for a national food chain at the age of 22 as a result of affirmative action. I know darn well I would not have gotten that gig had it not been. As a matter of fact, I think the company I was working for had just come out of a lawsuit. So many of us, some of us don't even realize it, have been benefactors of affirmative action. I think we still need it. And so I'm very disappointed at Clarence Thomas and the crew for this dastardly in this dastardly act. Let's talk about the business director. We're going to have a great lineup of people coming in next month on the show. Ashley Parker, an author, Turpin Housey, another author, the 222 production team, going to be having an event over at the MGM Grand at the National Harbor. And of course, attorney Margot Thomas will be joining us on July 28th. So go to marketingpulpit.com and join the business directory, and all the information is right there on the homepage, or go to mpi.bz. I'd like to thank our sponsor, BLE Executive Suites, for joining, helping us through the last 13 years. They have 3 locations, one in National Harbor, one over in College Park, and one in Largo. And they're also having their First Friday event coming up on July 7th. We have attorney Carl Chin is going to be featured. He's going to be our featured presenter. He's going to talk about building generational wealth. Good timing, Brother Chin. Let's talk about some other items in the news. Besides 4th of July coming up and this grace of justice by the Supreme Court and that majority opinion, what else is going on? Well, we talked about last week about how businesses are doing away with employee drug screenings, and they believe, and what they're going to do, instead of giving people drug tests, they're going to train the managers to spot signs of impairment instead. So I guess if you're on the Zoom call, how do you tell if somebody is impaired? I guess if they're eating like 2 dozen donuts, a whole box of cookies, and a whole bag of chips from having the munchies, that might be a sign that they're impaired somewhat. Now, in conjunction with this, Maryland is about to legalize recreational cannabis tomorrow on July 1st. There are a lot of questions because in many states across the country, cannabis and recreational cannabis and medical marijuana has already been legalized. Well, tomorrow in the state of Maryland, nearly 100 dispensaries have been approved by the state, and they will have the dual license. That means they can do the recreational and the medicinal. Cannabis is a big employer, okay? There are about 160,000 medical marijuana patients, and they generate about $500 million last year, according to the Maryland Cannabis Association. It also roughly employs about 500,000 people nationally. So there are some benefits besides feeling no pain. There are some financial benefits. Matter of fact, there are already more cannabis workers nationally than there are dentists. You know, it was interesting last week. Matter of fact, this week I went to the dentist. More cannabis workers than dentists. So maybe instead of getting that teeth pulled, that tooth pulled, I just need to light one up. Is that? I don't know. I don't think it quite works that easily. But anyway, worth a thought. We're going to talk about a few other items in the news when we come back. We're also going to talk about this gig economy. What is a gig economy? How does it apply to you? Some of you are already in it. Some of you, because of these massive layoffs, you're going to be a part of it. So you need to find out about this gig economy, because that is the employment picture of the future. This 9-to-5 job, putting out your resume and all this good stuff. That's nice, but it's not going to be available to everybody. With AI coming, you better learn about this gig economy and how it can help you. And some of you already have been impacted. So you definitely want to listen to this. So tell somebody if you know somebody or yourself may be impacted by this gig economy. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. And what we're going to do, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about our topic for today, gig economy. We're going to do a couple of more news items. So this is the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m., bringing you the good marketing gospel. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back in a moment.
Let me explain why we are not your typical directory. First and foremost, we don't wait for visitors to come to our directory. Instead, we proactively take our members directly to the shoppers with our aggressive advertising campaigns. For instance, we broadcast our own radio show on Radio 1WOL 95.9 FM, on which we constantly promote the directory and its members. In addition to that, we advertise our directory on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We also feature our members on individual social media posts. And we invite our members into our studio to tell their exciting story to thousands of potential buyers. So if you're looking for an affordable and effective way to build your brand, find new customers, and grow your organization, do what hundreds of others have done. Join the Marketing Pulpit directory at mpi.bz and get featured on the internet and on the air. Thank you for joining and happy selling.
We're back. This is the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gate with your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're actually broadcasting out of Largo, Maryland, and we're simulcasting through Radio 195.9 FM WOL. And we're also on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. And we're on Twitter. So you can get this information. But when you go to, if you missed the show, if you want to go back and pick up a few points that we may have rushed through, you can go to marketingpulpit.com, and the show is right there. You can watch it live. You can also watch the past shows, and we have a great categorization on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe, and we'll let you know when we're about to go live. And you can also get that past information. Thanks again for everybody who's tuning in. I see a lot of our favorite regular people tuning in. I see Idea Gear. I see Platinum and a few others. I see your numbers up there, but I won't see your name until you put a comment in the feed. So I appreciate everybody who's tuning in. We once again go to mpi.bz to check out the directory. We got some great new people joining. We have authors Ashley Parker and Miss Turpin Housey. And we also have 222 Productions, and of course a few others. Just go to the homepage and you'll see all those great companies and patronize these businesses. They're supporting us. That's how you can help support this show. Let's talk about a couple of items in the news. This Freaknik is coming up. It was an interesting story. One of the mothers who was participating in Freaknik back in the, I guess around the 80s and 70s, she sent to her son a text and said, this documentary is about to come on Hulu, and she's gonna be shaking her groove thing, and she wanted to let her kids know in advance. And now this is what she said. She said, I want to let you all know I will be on a Hulu direct documentary, Freaknik. You don't have to defend my behavior. That was before I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Sincerely, your mom. Boy, I tell you that your past will come back to you. So that's one thing young people need to realize now. At least back then, you didn't have the internet. Now you can find out what's your bad behavior the next day. Sometimes it's being broadcast live. Let's see. Giant Food is closing. Well, they threatened to close some of the stores in the Washington, D.C. area because they're saying people are stealing everything. They say they're stealing everything from shrimp to deodorant, and they're getting tired of it. But I've seen many of these videos online where these young people and adults, they run in the store and just grab armloads of merchandise and just walk right out the door. And what it's doing, ladies and gentlemen, there is no winner in this, because these companies, they already don't want to be there. They feel like they're not making as much money if they were on a different side of town. And now we're giving them more ammunition to pull the plug and go somewhere else. So what I think we need to do is we have to embrace this problem and convince these people that this is not the way to go. This is not the answer. So what we have to do is make sure that when we start looking at why there are no grocery stores in town, where there are certain industries are missing, we have to look within and make sure we're advising our young people not to take this kind of action, because it's going to impact the entire community very negatively. Let's see what else. Let's see here. I tell you, let's get to our topic for today. We're going to talk about this gig economy. It is affecting many people, and it's affecting some people in different ways than others. Some people think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Others find there's a problem with it. Let's talk about what is a gig economy, first of all. It refers to the labor market in which temporary and freelance work is the norm rather than the permanent employment. And people call this task work, and they also call it gigs. So if you are a rideshare driver doing Uber, Lyft, and so forth. You're doing Instacart. You are in the gig economy. Other people may include freelance writers. They're writing blogs and content, and they're selling it out on these different platforms. If you're a graphic designer and you're on work for hire most of the time, you're a virtual assistant. If you're doing things like photographers, videographer, tutors, instructors, IT consultants, event planners, you are in the gig economy, whether you realize it or not, particularly if you don't have another source of income. You are what's driving this gig economy. Now, some of the challenges with the gig economy, and there are quite a few. One of the biggest ones is the inconsistency of the income. Your income is predictable. Your rent is not. Your car note is not. Your food is not. So sometimes you have a difficult time juggling those worlds. The consistency of your debt and expenses against the inconsistency of your income. Many gig workers don't have benefits as well. They don't have things such as health insurance, retirement plans, vacation leave. That can be a problem. There is limited job security because some of these jobs you're working on, they can just get rid of you. Just say, we don't need you anymore. They can bring in a family member. They can bring it in-house. They can find another company to do it. So there's very little job security in this gig economy. Another thing about gig economy is that you don't know when to stop working because there's this mentality that if I stop, the income is going to stop. So you feel like every waking hour you have to be doing something. I know sometimes I'm doing that not because I'm in the gig economy, but as a self-employed person or having my own company, you feel sometimes hard to turn it off. You can just burn yourself out. And sometimes when you're trying to buy a house, it's difficult to prove your income. If you're trying to do something, make some type of major purchase, that bank gonna give you a hard time. I'll tell you that right now. So that's another one of those downsides. You don't have any legal protections, and of course there's this isolation, and sometimes you get downright lonely because you're out there all by yourself. That's why you need to join something like the Marketing Pulpit Business Directory, tune into this show, and get plugged in somewhere. Join some type of networking group just to keep yourself active and avoid some of that loneliness. Those are the downsides, but what are some of the advantages? Well, let me tell you, the job satisfaction is high and the variety. You can do 5 or 6 things. Sometimes it's like there's never a dull moment. That's a big advantage of the gig economy. And then the flexibility. You can work when you want to work and not work when you don't feel like it. You can sleep to noon. You can get up at 5 in the morning. It's up to you because you have that flexibility. And there's a range of opportunities and different skills. So if you are a very multi-talented person, you can make a lot of money because you get to apply all of those skills that you've acquired, and you're not stuck with one place where they're paying you like a certain amount of money and using up all your skills anyway. So the bigger gig economy is great for that. Now, also, I love this term, the low barrier for entry. We talk about this in marketing quite a bit. Barrier to entry means how difficult is it to get in a certain industry. In the gig economy, the barrier to entry is low for industries that you may want to get into. You maybe want to be a lawyer one day. Well, you can't go out here and just start saying I'm a lawyer one day, but the barrier to entry to get into the field, you may start as a paralegal, you may start in customer service, you may start as a courier. So you're putting your toe in some of these industries that may have been locked out to you before. So you can take on a certain task to get into a certain industry and then build your way, learn the industry, get some relationship building and so forth. So the barrier to entry has been lowered to get your toe wet into certain industries. And this is a big one too. In these gig economies, in these gig jobs, you can make a lot of money. I'm just telling you. I know some people that are doing DJs. They're like this DJ on the weekend. They go in there and get like $500-600 per gig. They do 3 gigs a weekend. They just made themselves $1,500-1,800. They won't make that on their full-time job in many cases. And some are doing that on the side, but many have found out that the income potential in these gig jobs sometimes it's up there in the sky. Also, there's a gateway to entrepreneurship. If you've been thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and things just weren't working out for you and you was afraid of trying it out, then the gig economy is a great way to get yourself into the entrepreneur field. You can start testing the water on certain things before you formally become a company in a certain way. So the gig economy gives you that opportunity to test the water in many of those areas where you've been kind of looking at from the side. So that's the gig economy in a nutshell. And what I'd like you to do is to look at where you are in your career and look down the road at some of these companies that are laying off. Look at the impact this AI and chat GPT and things like that, or how it's impacting the economy. And just know it's coming your way very soon. You will not be exempt. So you might want to look at starting that side hustle. You might look at broadening the types of gigs that you're able to accomplish, but look at the downsides and look at those obstacles and see how you can smooth them out. Start your saving plan. Make sure you're taking out the taxes and paying yourself, doing the Social Security taxes and things like that. So don't let these problems be the impediment to keep you from being successful, because this economy is changing. It's not the same economy we had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So you need to prepare, and the gig economy is a good way to do it. Let's talk about quick. That's going to be our sermon for the day. We're going to go back a minute while we get ready to close out here. Go back to I want to ask you to join this Marketing Pulpit Business Director. We do have a special today. Right now, we have a $150 a year plan. We have a $325 a year plan. Any of those plans you join today, we're going to take take half price off of it. There's a coupon called WOL when you get ready to check out, and we're going to give you half price on any of those plans. Now that top plan at $325, that's the one you want. That's going to get you all the love you need. But the $150 plan is great too, because it gets your name shouted out on the show. It gets you featured on the homepage on Marketing Pulpit. So go ahead and just join this and build this community. And particularly if you are in the gig economy, we're handing you a solution right here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to join, sign up for the Marketing Pulpit. The BLE First Friday. It's going to be July 7th. Carl Chin, the attorney, is going to talk about creating generational wealth. I want to thank Ms. Bernadette Clay and Company for making this available. She's going to be there talking about the law of attraction and what has made her successful. You get to hear it from the greatest. She has 3 locations: Largo, National Harbor, and College Park. She's going to give you the answers to the quiz. If you just come on out, go to Marketing Pulpit or go to BLE and join the BLE First Friday, folks. That's going to wrap it up for today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the Marketing Pulpit radio show. I'm Robert Gable. We'll be back next week at the same time. And if you want to be successful, you have to do these 3 things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. Look up one day and the phone just rang and people are calling you from everywhere. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. You could be a accountant, you could be a web designer, you could be a model, you could be an attorney, a roofer. You say, where's all this business coming from? Because what you may not have realized is that you are planting seeds, even when you didn't realize it. That's why you're in this season. It doesn't happen nilly-willy. But what you want to do is harness the power of planting and planning to make sure that those seasons happen.